Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our presentation on opportunities for U.S. cheesemakers at SIAL Paris. I'm Susan Cheryl Axelrod, the editor-in-chief at Culture, and we are very excited to be partnering with SIAL and IMEX today for this virtual event. There's a lot to pack into this hour, but before we get started, a few housekeeping details. Be sure to set your view to speaker, not gallery, and please use the chat for your questions. We will answer those that are specific to a certain presenter as best we can, either during their presentation or just following their presentation. But we do have 5 presenters today, and we will have time for a Q&A at the end. So these 5 experts are going to give you a full picture of the opportunities to export your cheeses into Europe. First, via video recorded earlier, because it's late evening in France, we'll meet international cheese expert Francois Robin, who has advised American makers who has advice for American makers looking to make inroads to get their cheeses into, his words, cheese-proud France. Then we'll hear from Sam Allison, who's the global markets manager for Sartori Cheese in Plymouth, Wisconsin. And Sam will offer tips for selling U.S. cheeses into Europe. Jean-Gabriel Mollard is the Marketing and Communications Director for the Food Division at COMEXPOSIUM, which includes the SIAL network. And he will give us an overview of what to expect at SIAL. Finally, trade show industry veteran Eric Halsten directs IMEX Management's portfolio of USDA-endorsed trade events. And he will offer insights into what goes on at the USA Pavilion at SIAL Paris. And then we have a surprise special guest with us today. One of my favorite people in the cheese world, Dave Gremmels, president of Rogue Creamery and creator of the world's best blue cheese, Rogue River Blue, and the world's best cheese, actually, as well. Dave has his cheeses in Europe, and he will offer his perspective on how he accomplished that. So let's start with the video from Francois.
Hi, everyone. I've been asked to take part in this webinar, but I'm sorry I cannot be with you because it's a little bit too late for me tonight to be with you. But I'd be happy to have this message or this speech recorded so you can use it. So I'm Francois Robin for my family name, Francois Robin, if you want to pronounce it French. And I'm a cheesemonger, expert cheesemonger, independent consultant, cheesemonger trainer as well, and I've been promoting French cheeses in the world since the last 10 years, let's say, something like that. I've been awarded Meilleur Ouvrier de France. That's the reason why I got this card. Meilleur Ouvrier de France is a little bit like best craftsman in France in cheesemongering. It's a contest every 4 years, so we are really a few that are working and having actually the joy of having that title. I've been also writing this book, Cheese for Dummies, the French version of it. Well, if you want to get in touch with me later, go to my Instagram or Facebook. It's Francois Robin Cheesemonger. You can find me easily. Well, I've been asked to give you a few views, personal views on the French market, what is actually happening, and maybe how you could, because it's quite a job. You could go on that market and propose something that the French cheesemonger will love to see. First of all, I think for sure the sentence "cheese is a new wine" is really true. Something that I've been feeling traveling a lot around the world. I can see a lot of cheese fan people that getting interested, not only professional but also consumers, and a lot of people from culture where there is no cheese at the beginning, like Southwest Asia or Japan or even China a little bit. So it's time for every country in the world to develop its own terroir, its own cheese's own production, and there's enough room, I think, for every cheese that can be produced. Lately, the COVID had an impact in our life in France, like any other country, of course. But on the cheese market, it has been quite benefic in a way, for sure. The first thing I will mention is that there have been an increase sales. There have been increased sales for cheesemonger, artisan cheeses, especially quality cheeses. It's really important. And we had a few weeks that were difficult at the beginning of the pandemic, but after that, people were going into the cheese shop quite more than the rest, because in such crisis time, comfort food is what they wanted, and French people were going for comfort cheeses like raclette or melted cheeses or creamy cheeses. Blue cheeses were not a big trend, but more raclette, melted, things that makes you feel good. And it's really important in these times that are difficult. That was an increased sale for the cheesemonger that is now a little bit lower, but it has been really crazy for the cheesemongers and cheese shops because we had a flow of new customers, and most of them were focused on the origin of the cheese, the storytelling, and the taste as well. It's really important for me that if you want to go on the French market, that you have a story to tell and make it short, make it focus, make it efficient, and also make the taste quite unique, something that is really specific. And if you tell the story and the taste that is here, well, you have something in your hand, and that's something that the people are really focused on, actually. Of course, the raw milk is a plus, but it's not the only way to get the cheeses. Actually, I did manage to sell some American cheeses to French people 4 years ago. It was in Lyon. I will not tell the brand of the American cheese. It was an artisan cheese, and I had to fight a little bit the idea that the French customer had about the American cheeses, that is to say bland, and it's not cheese, that's what they say. But one of the things is to make them taste first and then tell them that it's American after. I'm sorry about that, but we are a little bit cheese proud in France. But it's really possible, if you go on that field, to go into the French market, because we are more open than before to foreign cheeses. The wine has done the job, so we know that there are good wines that are not French. It's from Italy, from Spain, it's from America, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. We know that. We know we are not the only one. And we know that we are not the only one to produce cheese today. And roughly 15 to 20% of the range of the cheese that a cheese store have in France is non-French. That is to say, and it's growing compared to what it was 15 years ago. Now we have more foreign cheeses. People have traveled a lot, and they have seen that there are other countries. So I think the market is now ready to have more new cheeses, and the customers are more open than before. But as American, maybe it's a little bit difficult, because in our cultural way of thinking, America is not a place where you can have good cheeses. I'm sorry about that. That's the way it is. So one thing for me is to go. One thing that is really important is to go to promote cheeses that are not comparable to French production. If you go to do a camembert, you will, in my opinion, you will lose. If you go to do a Comté or a Roquefort, you will lose, because there is a French standard, and you got to have something that is really personal, that is really non-comparable. If you can compare to a French cheeses, I'm sorry, but the game is over. So anything that can be inspired by French, but done maybe, or non-inspired, by the way, but maybe slightly different is a good way to go to convince the French cheesemongers. If you do something that is a copycat, forget it. That's maybe a little bit rough to hear, but that's what I think. That's the way the foreign cheeses are getting good in our cheese range, in cheese shop. There is no French Parmigiano, there is no French Manchego, things like that, and there is no French Stilton, so they can live in our range and in the spirit of the customers, and it's perfectly okay. Also, a good trend that is actually happening in France further than feel-good cheeses, creamy cheeses, will be the flavored cheeses, and the truffle is taking all the markets, the black truffle, or non-black, by the way. It was something that 10 years ago we had for seasonal only, and now people are just crazy about this truffle cheese, and they want the cheese all year long. Well, that's another thing to know, and there are also quite a good amount of new cheeses that are flavored with maybe sometimes exotic ingredients, but also things that are linked with the terroir as well. We have something that is called l'ail des ours. It's bear garlic. It's a leaf. It's gently garlicky, and it grows in the mountains. So a raclette flavor with that makes sense, and people love it more than something that will be flavored with I don't know, any spices coming from another place. It's also a question of storytelling. People are more and more careful about the sustainable development, sorry about choosing that word, and of course on environment impact of the cheeses as well. Just to finish with my small speech, and I will be happy to get you more focus on more views on other topics maybe next time. But one thing you should know, that a lot of people are now going to become cheesemongers. The crisis have created that. Maybe 5 years ago, I was training 10 people in a year that will open a shop, and now it's more like 50 to 60 per year since the COVID broke up. So it's a lot of people that are coming on the market, knowing that we have something like 3,500 cheese stores in France. That's quite a lot, but for us it's still growing, and now it's not only the center of the town, but it's growing in the suburb, it's going in smaller towns all around France, and almost everywhere in France, even abroad, things are getting bigger. So I think the general mood is good for the cheese. I think if you want, as American producer, to go on the French market, you have a lot of storytelling and good taste to bring. Raw milk will be a good thing, but for sure, try to have your own identity and to gain that acknowledgement about your identity more than imitate French products. I think it's okay. I will be happy to go further on that direction. You can contact me, and I leave you to the rest of the webinar. Bye.
Okay, now we will hear from Sam Allison, who is with the Global Markets Manager for Sartori Cheese. Take it away, Sam.
You bet. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time today. So just to start with, Sartori Cheese, we're a fourth generation family-owned cheese manufacturer from Plymouth, Wisconsin. We work with our local family-owned farms to source high-quality milk. One of the things I think those of us in the cheese industry know is that you can have great milk and still produce not so great cheese, but you can't produce great cheese without great milk. And so that's a really important part of our process, is our relationship with the farmers and sourcing that high quality milk. We have a couple of master cheesemakers on our team who help lead the cheesemaking process, and we've been able to create some new, unique to the world cheeses such as Bella Batano, which we soak in a Merlot wine or a Tennessee whiskey or hand rub with espresso coffee. Why is all of that important? Well, I want to talk about our experience a little bit at SIAL Paris. So we had our first exhibition at SIAL back in 2012, so about 10 years ago now, and I can certainly echo some of the sentiments that Francois just shared with us in terms of the experience that we had. We had just a small little 3-foot table with a couple of pieces of cheese out, and we're looking to make our first connections with a European audience at that time. And we had French folks come up to us and basically look at us like we were crazy. Why would Americans think that they could sell cheese to Europeans? The bias certainly exists, right? Like, all of the cheese that comes from America is sort of orange plastic slices that you might throw on a hamburger if you were doing a barbecue party, but that's about it, kind of thing. And so it took a lot of talking, even just to get folks to try our cheese, but once we did, it was really exciting and rewarding to see sort of that realization sort of melt over their face that Sartori had a really unique and great cheese on par with any of the best cheeses in Europe to offer, and that in terms of selling to Europe, that really comes down to it. You've got to have a special product and you've got to have a special story, because that story that you're telling becomes really critical. The cheese audience wants to know that origin story. They want to know what's behind it. What about the cows? What about the farms and all of those pieces? And so having that story to tell becomes really critical. And then in the context of the show itself, one of the biggest things that we learned too is we started in the USA Pavilion at SIAL that you see here on the screen. And we talked to a lot of people, but we weren't necessarily talking to the right people in terms of developing business. And so as we participated in more European fairs, what we found is being in the cheese hall, in the dairy hall specifically, really becomes critical, because that's where you're going to meet the buyers. That's where you're going to meet the folks in the industry that are going to help move your product. And so that's really critical. And I know that some of our other panelists today are going to talk about some of those opportunities. And I really want to reinforce that piece for everyone is to be successful. We need to have a presence in that dairy hall. But the opportunity is real, and I know just with the little bit of time I've got left here, I want to talk about that a little bit. So we know that global cheese demand continues to grow, and our production continues to grow here in the U.S. as well, but it's outpacing demand here domestically. 75% of production growth in 2020 went into exports, and so it's important for us to develop markets outside of the United States. One of the great things about the European market is that they love cheese. There's a growing demand for U.S. cheese. We've done some research now in market for 3 years in a row that has shown us that perceptions that Francois talked about cheese from America are really changing, and we've seen that folks are responding much more positively to our products now more than they were 10 years ago. And so that's really exciting to see, and it's exciting to know that there's a lot of opportunity out there. One of the biggest things that we do need to be aware of, though, is there are trade barriers as well. In terms of tariffs, in terms of so what you call your cheese. We can't sell Parmesan to the Europeans because of the protected designation of origin naming rights that they have there. But one of the biggest things that we've had to overcome to kind of wrap this up here is folks don't know about Wisconsin. That's our origin story, here at Sartori, and here in the U.S. people know Wisconsin. They know America's Dairyland, and that we produce and make a lot of great cheese. Europeans, it's not really on the map yet, and conversations that we've had over there have literally included questions like, do you guys have cows in Wisconsin? And are there farms there? And so it's a huge opportunity that is waiting to be taken advantage of. And so that's something that we work on as we continue to develop that story that we're telling around Sartori cheese, that we want folks to understand about Wisconsin and the great products that are being made here. So I'll wrap it up there. I don't know if there's any specific questions for me. Otherwise, I'll hand it over to the next presenter.
Thank you so much, Sam. It's hard to believe that people might not know that Wisconsin has cows, but I guess that's understandable. So next, we're going to hear from Jean-Gabriel.
Hello.
And there he is. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm here. Hello from Paris. So it's quite late, but that's fine. I'm really happy to be there with you, and that's a pleasure to share with you a few insights about SIAL Paris. And I'm very happy that I've heard from Francois earlier, and especially from you, Sam, because it's really something really important. What we really have to remember is that society is changing, everything is changing, and more rapidly when it comes to food, meaning that there's a lot of opportunities that are being created along the road with that. And that's something that is really something that you can really taste in SIAL, because it's about all this. And I'm gonna try to be quick. SIAL, it's part of a global food network with 7 well-established trade shows, as you can see there. SIAL Paris is in October, but the next one is in Montreal in April. So those 7 ones are the established ones, but we have 3 new ones that we are launching this year, and the next one is in March in Las Vegas. So it's in the US. First time we'll have a SIAL show there, and we're really excited about that. So I really encourage you to take a look about SIAL America, because it's going to be great. We have as well in the SIAL Galaxy 4 specialized trade show, and I'm just gonna emphasize the next one is the Cheese and Dairy Show. It's in Paris, and it's opening just Sunday, and it's everything about cheese, and it's not just French related. It's let's say mainly European, but all countries are represented, and US are represented too, and we even have cheese from Japan. So it's really interesting, and Francois Robin will be there as well. But let's come back to SIAL Paris this year. So as you know, this has been 2 special years, but this year SIAL is the world's largest meeting place for the food industry, the world's biggest fair trade. So it's going to take place from Saturday 15 to Wednesday 19 October. It's in the heart of Europe, so that you know already, and it's the capital of gastronomy. Francois has made tons about that, about French people, but that's really something great to be in the middle of France for this trade show, because you can get all of Europe there. I'm gonna go quick because it's only 5 minutes, but obviously I can develop if you have questions about that. But Paris, SIAL Paris is 3 things. It's a place to be inspired thanks to innovation brought by all the exhibitors and their products, but as well from all the insights that you can find here, thanks to the speakers or the different studies that we are unveiling there. Obviously, it's a unique export platform. It's not just about France, obviously. France is the main visiting country, but all other European countries are really close behind. And obviously, it's a fantastic accelerator of visibility for brand of the exhibitors. Just a few figures: over 7,000 exhibitors, around 120 countries, and it's a big number of square meter of exhibition space, as you can see that. As for the visitors, over 300,000 professionals coming from 200 countries, and half of the buyers are coming from distributions or importers, but you can also as well find out-of-home buyers, obviously. As you can see there, the top 10 visitor countries, you can find France, but you can find Italy, Spain, Netherlands, UK, obviously, Belgium, Germany, United States, China. I guess this year we'll have less visitors from China, but they used to come quite a lot, and Poland. After that, you find a lot of non-European countries such as Korea or Japan as well. On the dairy sector in particular, there's over 500 companies represented. It represents over 14,000 square meters of exhibitions. You can see here a few of the visitors that visited the last edition and the exhibitors that already registered. Something I wanted to say, that there's over 50,000 visitors claiming their interest about dairy sector at SIAL Paris. So that's a lot, obviously, and there's a lot of things to do with that. Something I wanted to point out is SIAL Innovation. I will discuss a little bit about that. It's an opportunity for all the exhibitors of SIAL to push forward the products in our innovation awards. And some of the dairy products have been awarded over the years. So that's a good opportunity for your product to shine outside from your stand. Some key figures: a high return on investment. An edition of SIAL Paris generate over 2 billion euros of business volume. The format is a good one. There's no discussion about that. And the exhibitor declared that they are making 2,000 contacts and meetings in a show. Obviously, COMEXPOSIUM, which is the company behind SIAL and a lot of other fair shows around the world, we have put in place all the health guidelines to keep everyone safe. Just for you to know, in the last quarter of 2021, we started again to produce shows, and we produced successfully over 100 shows just in the last 3 months of the last year. Meaning that we have experienced a lot, and our health guidelines are proved. And obviously, we're in compliance with regulations, and that changed quite a lot. So we adapt with that. Quickly about some unmissable events, because SIAL is as well about events. SIAL Innovation, I discussed that already. That's the opportunity to have your product compete and be awarded. SIAL Talks, it's everything about insights given by stakeholders, keynote speakers that shape the world of tomorrow. Interesting for you as well, because there's some opportunity to talk on SIAL Talks as well for some of our exhibitors. So that's another opportunity you can try to seize as well. La Cuisine. Actually, it's everything about out-of-home trends, everything to be tasted and staged by chefs. So it's everything from street food to haute cuisine, and that's other opportunities to have your product tasted or cooked by some chefs or some street food addicts. Other events, those ones are really Future Lab and SIAL Insights. Future Lab is very much about what's going on, what will be happening in 10, 20, 30 years from now in the food industry in the world linked to food. SIAL Insights, it brings together all the studies and everything that we, all the insights from consumer insights to out-of-home insights, and as well about product innovation. So it's a lot to know and to discover about that. SIAL Startup, obviously we make the startup shine, and this year we'll have a specific space for the startup to be discovered. There's a lot of things that are going to be new in 2022. Obviously, we changed a lot of things, we improved a lot of things. First of all, it's we now launch a marketplace named CXMP, COMEXPOSIUM Marketplace, and this is a B2B marketplace, and there is a food vertical. I can give a lot of detail about that, but it can be another discussion. And this marketplace will be interlinked with SIAL Paris, so that's extra opportunities to bring buyers towards your products, and all year long, not only on the show. We are enhancing the matchmaking actions. We are working on the access to the site for the visitors to make it better. We are running a very extensive top buyer program to bring top buyers from all over the world. Obviously, this year we still expect to have some travel restriction with Asia, so we're working with the top buyer program to have all the international buyers there at SIAL Paris. We have launched a newsroom on a website with a lot of news. I can just tell you, go there and discover all the news that we have there. We're launching some podcasts as well, Food for Thought. Sorry, excuse my French, always difficult for me to pronounce that, but the newsroom and the podcast are as well good opportunities to have your product in there. Welcome attitude, wider and more targeted visibility offer, optimized visitor path. We are doing everything to make to optimize the time of visit of our visitors, for them to have the best time at SIAL Paris and the more efficient time. Obviously, that means a better business for exhibitor as well. We'll have a very dynamic program of events as well. So SIAL Paris, it's an ecosystem. I will not discuss too much about that, because we have all the different platforms to promote and support the show. And so, in substance, here are 4 reasons why you should join SIAL Paris. Something that I wanted to add, I'll let you read about that, but something I wanted to add specifically toward cheese is that the way of life is changing in Europe quite rapidly, and thus we need new products and products adapted to this new way of life. So there's a lot of opportunities, and specifically for cheese, because cheese now is a little bit everywhere. It used to be in Europe very specifically at the end of the meal or on specific dishes. Now you can find cheese on any opportunity, social events, at home, sandwiches, whatever, and it's growing and growing. So I really feel that there's lots of opportunities there. We are having a big studies going on right now. We'll unveil the results in June, and I'm sure there will be very interesting insights about the way products are consumed everywhere in Europe, but specifically in the world, but specifically in Europe too. That are really interesting for the cheesemongers and the cheese producers. Thank you. And I think I hand over to Eric.
Yes, thank you, Jean-Gabriel. That was fascinating. And now Eric Halsten from IMEX Management will talk about the USA Pavilion at SIAL Paris.
Thanks, Susan. All right. Well, thanks, Jean-Gabriel, for giving sort of a general overview on the SIAL Paris. I'll speak a little bit about specifically the USA Pavilion and what it means for U.S. companies to participate. To give you some background, IMEX has been the US representative and USA Pavilion organizer for SIAL since 1998. And personally, I've been involved since 2008. So I've been able to make quite a few trips to the show over the years, and it really is a marvel. So the USA Pavilion, it is USDA endorsed by the Department of Agriculture, and we'll get into that a little bit in a minute. Over the years, there have always been traditionally two USA Pavilions, one for basically all food and beverage products, with the exception of meat and poultry. The meat and poultry products have their own pavilion in a dedicated meat and poultry hall. And everybody else sort of falls in the general food and beverage category, like Sam had explained earlier. At the request and at the encouragement of the USDA's office in Paris, we've decided that we should give it a good effort to try and organize a dedicated USA Dairy Pavilion at SIAL Paris 2020. So hopefully we'll have 3 USA Pavilions at the show this October. Go ahead. So why should a company join the USA Pavilion? Well, at IMEX, we like to say, you focus on your business and let us handle the rest. Traveling overseas to a trade show can be daunting. Many of the companies that are coming to SIAL, like Jean-Gabriel was saying, it's a great opportunity for new companies, for companies going abroad for the first time, trying to see where you fit in the global landscape of the food and beverage world. So we try and make it as easy as possible for you. We make sure our USA Pavilions are located in a prime location with turnkey booths, so a nice looking booth package. We provide full assistance logistically from the moment you sign the participation agreement all the way through the show on site. The show is USDA endorsed, so that means the USDA staff from the embassy in Paris are on site to provide any sort of marketing assistance that you may require if you have questions about doing business in Europe. And also, because SIAL is such a global event, many other USA offices abroad will come and they'll bring buyers. So let's say you're approached by someone from another country in Europe, or even maybe South America or Asia. There may be someone from that USDA office in attendance. For 2022, the USDA is also trying to create a buyer's mission where the offices overseas will be bringing a large number of buyers to meet specifically with the US exhibitors. The USA Pavilion at SIAL Paris is a number of amenities, private meeting rooms you can rent. There's a business center, a lounge with complimentary beverages. You can purchase lunch. You don't have to leave, the confines of the pavilion to go get lunch. We can help with hotel arrangements, freight forwarding, if you need an interpreter for your booth. And also exclusive to SIAL Paris, there's a complimentary shipping allotment. So for every 12 square meter booth package, you get complimentary one-way consolidated shipping of up to 100 pounds, which can really help a small exhibitor when it comes to budgets and things of that nature. Go ahead. So how do you exhibit at SIAL Paris? There you can see a rendering of our new USA Pavilion design that will be unveiled for the first time this October. It's an upgraded design with the help from US Department of Agriculture. So there's a couple different ways. You can have a private booth where you're on your own with your own walls within the USA Pavilion. For a 9 square meter booth package, which is about a 10 by 10 for what we would call it here in the States, furnished, it would be about 8,150 euros. For the dairy area, we're also trying to do what we call a shared demo area, where it would be more of an open concept where you could reserve a demo counter like you see here, and you would have access to a common meeting area with tables and chairs and cold storage if needed, things like that. That common shared demo area would be about 5,765 euros. Now, as an exclusive, these prices include a discount that we're extending through the 1st of April for any dairy companies that or exhibitors of dairy products who may be interested in joining. And you know what? There also may be other opportunities for you to save on the cost, either working through your State Department of Agriculture or state regional trade groups. Go ahead. Are you ready to join us? So we'd love to have a few dairy companies join us in a dedicated USA Dairy Pavilion in Paris this October. If you're interested in more information, please feel free to reach out to me. There's my email address, or you can find us on the web at imexmanagement.com. And that wraps it up for me.
Thank you, Eric. Lots of great information here this afternoon. Thank you, everybody. And now Dave Gremmels is going to tell us about his experience getting his cheeses into Europe. And I think, Dave, you said you have your cheese in Turkey. Am I not? Yeah. Okay, good. And so we'll hear from Dave now. Thank you.
Susan, thank you for the introduction, and thank you to SIAL and IMEX and Culture and the USDA. It's been a journey for me. I feel like a pioneer exporting American raw milk cheeses into the EU now for 19 years. And I step back and say 19 years I've been promoting in alignment with SIAL, but for the last 14 years. And I think about first Rogue Creamery's mission. It's people dedicated to sustainability, service, and the art and tradition of creating the world's finest handmade cheese. It's the last part of that mission that I really put a lot of thought into as I'm creating the world's finest handmade cheese. It's what we try to do every day here at Rogue Creamery. And that cheese needs to be in the world's finest cheese shops and restaurants, not only in the US, but around the world. In 2003 at the World Cheese Awards, Rogue Creamery's Rogue River Blue received an accolade for Best Blue and Reserve Champion overall. And there was demand in the EU, which was exciting. And so that demand reached throughout Europe. And I saw SIAL as an opportunity to further our reach, an opportunity to further distribute Rogue Creamery cheeses, and also to be an ambassador for the American artisan cheese movement. And so there was one problem. There wasn't a health certificate for exporting raw milk cheeses into the EU until 2007. So I worked closely with the USDA, the Oregon Department of Ag, USDAC to work through the details, and it was a Herculean effort for the USDA and the Oregon Department of Ag to collaboratively work together to create a health certificate. So in 2008 was the first time I was able to actually sample our raw milk cheeses in SIAL and sell them. So it was really exciting. Before that, in 2004 and 2006, those were professional samplings, and I really appreciate the patience of the USDA and also SIAL in allowing me to secure a booth and professionally sample those cheeses. You know, the benefit of that was twofold. Not only were we able to expand our reach, but we were able to reinforce with our domestic buyers in the US attending SIAL, the great cheeses that we have. So, you know, you have two opportunities to increase your reach, not only in the EU, but SIAL reaches much further. So opportunities opened up for us in Japan and Canada and on because of our presence at SIAL. So, and we also got one-on-one time with buyers and distributors in the US. So there were multiple benefits for us attending SIAL, which we continue to do today. So, you know, I think about the words that Francois Robin shared, and there is preconceived ideas about American cheese is in France. And so, you know, I take to heart his words. And It's what I did. I let the cheese talk. And so I would sample our cheeses in the USA Pavilion to those walking the aisles. And then occasionally someone would stop and just have that aha moment, like, wow, what did I just taste? And so then the cheese also has to have a story. And as Francois said, that story has to be to the point, and also express the character and the originality of that cheese. And also the cheese also needs to be authentic, an American original, a new flavor. For Rogue Creamery's cheese Rogue River Blue, it really expresses the flavor of this landscape, this environment that surrounds me. It's new, it's distinctive, and it creates an aha moment for those samplings. So, my accent would have gave away I was an American cheesemaker, but sampling that cheese stopped the guest in the aisle shopping the US Pavilion, the buyer, and just made them think about, wow, this is an awesome cheese, and how do I get it? So today, our distribution has increased. We're in Rungis and distributing through France, and we're just, again, really proud of establishing that market and using American artisan cheese as a force of good, and sharing all the great cheeses and stories that are being created in the US with the greatest tool I have, and that's Rogue River Blue. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to exhibit in SIAL now for 19 years, and look forward to exhibiting this year. And there's a little bit of homework, certainly, to do in preparing oneself to exhibit and to export. And that is to get your plant, your creamery certified with EU certification, and then also getting in order the APHIS certificates through the USDA for export. And certainly the USDA is super helpful in walking you through those steps in preparing you to export your cheeses into the EU and beyond. So, and for Rogue Creamery, we're also organic, and being certified organic is also accepted in the EU. So it's another way of certainly sharing the clean ingredient, and as well as our positive impact in the environment through our organic practices at our dairy, at our farm, and at our creamery. And so with that, I'd like to say that there's a lot of great opportunity to further the reach and further your story outside of the US. And so I'm excited to have shared our story, and really hope that you'll join me in SIAL this autumn.
Thank you so much, David. That's wonderful. It's always a joy to hear your story. I've heard it before, but I hadn't heard the SIAL part. So that's very exciting to hear about how you did that. And I know that it is some work to get yourself prepared, but I know there's lots of help available, both through the USDA and through folks like the gentleman we've heard from today. So if anyone wants to do this, there's lots of opportunity to do it. So now we'll take questions. Does anyone have questions? We do have a comment from Shanna Davis. Thank you to all the speakers for sharing your expertise and knowledge this afternoon. And I join her in saying that as well. So do we have any questions from anyone else about, for any of the presenters, or a general question? You can use the chat, you can use the Q&A. There might not be any questions. You guys were all so thorough. So, well, we'll give it a couple more minutes. And do any of the presenters have anything that you'd like to add as a final note? Everyone's very quiet.
Well, I can see a question. Is it expected to speak French when presenting at SIAL?
Oh, good. Yeah.
I'm going to take this one. Actually, as I was saying, this is really a global event. So what is it expected is to speak English, obviously. So yes, there's a lot of French visitors, but 80% of the visitors are non-French. It's really something that you really need to grab, is that the French is the first nation visiting, but the language, everything is going in English most of the time. Obviously, if you speak French, then it will be easier to discuss with the French buyers. But most of the people that come and visit, they're used in discussing with internationals, so that's not a problem.
Great.
I would also
I will say there are counterexample. You can totally have a typical French that doesn't want to speak English, but this is becoming really rare.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jean-Gabriel. That's an important question, and thank you for that answer. Do have a couple more. What certificates are needed for export to Europe? APHIS, AMS. Eric, do you want to take that, or Sam or David?
Yeah, so the health certificate, and with the APHIS, it's a certificate that is signed by the regional USDA office it's basically a health certificate, a veterinarian certificate. And so, and then also being organic, our certifier provides a certificate as well. So all that is provided to the USDA to process a health certificate for export. So, and certainly IMEX and USDEC, US Dairy Export Council, as well as the USDA office, are really, really helpful in walking you through those steps and filling out the certificates and submitting them.
Great, thank you, David. We do have a couple more here. What is the minimum size business you would encourage to try export market development? Maybe that's one for you, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, and Sam, feel free to jump in on this one too. I mean, I think it really depends on the individual company. I mean, there's no point in going abroad if you're unable to fill the orders that may come in. But I like, you know, and even like as David said, I think it makes sense if it's something that you're interested in doing, or if that's a long-term goal of your organization. You know, you have to start somewhere, and you have to do some research and get your boots on the ground and you know, sort of feel out the process and see what sort of demand there is. So I don't think there's a you know, a specific rule of thumb when it comes to that. But I mean, you should be able to, you know, to probably be able to produce at least a minimum amount to make it worth your while.
Yep, that makes sense, certainly. And we have a question here. Are there certain non-dairy ingredients to avoid in Europe for flavored cheeses? That's an interesting one.
I think I would, what I would recommend is working with the US Dairy Export Council to kind of identify that. They've got a really extensive understanding of European regulation, and then also you know, whoever you end up working with in terms of as an importer, you know, having kind of those 2 points of view will help you identify those pieces. But you know, we have been able to export, you know, basically everything in terms of non-GI product that we make here at Sartori. It's just a matter of making sure that your ingredients fit into that, but US Tech can guide you through that process.
Great, thank you. For the US Dairy Pavilion, are producers expected to have a team in France to help in sampling cheese, or can IMEX provide help with that?
So I don't think you need to have a team. Obviously, I think it makes the most sense to have somebody present from your company, right? Because no one can tell your story better than you. So you'll want to have at least one person there. We can help arrange booth attendants or sampling staff that can, you know, if you've got to run and grab lunch or something, someone's there to continue sampling and collect leads for you. So we can help arrange all that sort of, you know, assistance you may need on site. If you're faced with, you know, having to go alone and not have a team, we can help arrange all that.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I think if I were to add anything to Eric's comment, it was really helpful to work with IMEX to get an interpreter. That allowed myself to really tell the story in detail and have that story shared through an interpreter. So that had, I think, helped greatly in furthering the Rogue Creamery story and sharing the great work that is being done by American farmstead and artisan producers. Yeah.
Really good point. Yes, because even though some folks may speak, or a lot of the folks there at SIAL Paris may speak English, there may be a level of English that, you know, is more attainable if you have a translator. Let's see. For David, would you recommend having collateral in French, other languages?
Absolutely. So we print our brochure in French, Italian, and Spanish. So it's been very, very helpful.
Great. Good.
Great comment, Carlos. Thank you for the question.
Nice to see you, Carlos. So, well, everyone, if there's nothing further, I want to thank all of you, especially the panelists for being here, and also our attendees for joining us this afternoon. This has been really, really interesting. I'm hoping that I can get to SIAL Paris too. And so we have a thank you from Sheena again, and we really enjoyed hearing from you all this afternoon. We're excited about the opportunities for US makers to, like Dave and others, to have their cheeses exported to Europe. And we really hope that this provides some food for thought and some inspiration and some real help for other cheesemakers who'd like to follow in Dave's footsteps. So thank you all for being here today, and in Sam's footsteps too. Sorry, Sam. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I'm eager to see you all in Paris, I guess, in October.
Let's hope so. Yep. Bye-bye.
It's really a pleasure. Thank you all.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.